Hey guys, welcome to a slightly different couples therapy where
Hi.
we're going to talk about Superman versus Batman. So for anyone that doesn't know us, Anna is a massive Superman fan
Team Superman.
and I'm a massive Batman fan. So we were pretty excited last Thursday when we went to see the film. Now we've given it a week for sort of reviews to come out and for everything to settle. Because when we first went to see it, it was at 30% on Rotten
Yeah,
Tomatoes.
it was pretty terrible.
And it was getting
reviews.
pretty bad reviews. Now, there's still awful reviews, but there's a lot of people kind of saying there's good and bad points.
Well, basically, as far as I learned from the internet, the utter wisdom of the internet. It's basically happened to be now a clash between fan reviews versus critic reviews. So there is one of the first films where it was such a gigantic discrepancy between what the fans liked and what the critics liked, or more like disliked.
Fair enough. It's really strange. This movie seems to have been very polarizing in the face that a lot of people either didn't quite like it, or a lot of people liked it, but then they realized that there are flaws with the film.
It seems there's a 50% divide of either you hate it or you love it.
I don't even think it's love. I think it's a lot of people
Accept it.
see what it was trying to do. I think one of the main critiques of it is though that there is a lot going on.
Yeah,
film.
I've seen a lot of people say it's convoluted. There's too many storylines going on at the same time. Too many endings happening at the same time. It's just too much trying to fit into one film that has been branded as Batman versus Superman. Some people have, but some people have seen it as reintroducing a new Batman for half the film, and then introducing a Superman film, and then somehow also introducing the Justice League.
So I'll go over stuff that I thought was wrong with the Batman side of things. For
There's
me,
nothing wrong with the Superman side of things.
for me, Batman broke his two golden rules. Really, it's happened previously in Batman films. Batman's had guns and
Yeah.
Batman's killed people, but sort of Batman 1989 was the same with the Batcopter that had the guns on it. He shot people, killed people. It was fine. So for me, Batman breaking his two golden rules was kind of annoying. I turned to Anna in the cinema when she sort of looked at me with sort of, Batman's killing people. I'm like, it's fine. They're sleeping. He's put them to sleep. But the
Especially
sleep
when
bullets.
they got machine guns into
Yeah.
the face.
Those
It was
were,
definitely sleeping machine guns.
Yeah, sleeping machine gun. Yeah,
Cool.
definitely. That was kind of an annoyance to me.
I mean, people such as even Kevin Smith came out and said, it's a terrible film apparently. He does say, I think that's something you're going to bring up anyway, is that he says Batfleck was one of the best, if not the best, cinematic Batman.
Yes,
there is.
I actually agree that I think that Ben Affleck so far has been the best representation of Bruce Wayne and Batman.
That's what Kevin Smith said as well. I found that, but he was kind of agreeing with you, best. I would probably agree with you as well. Actually, I would disagree with you.
So we've
saying-
gone from agree to disagree.
No,
now.
I would disagree with you to the extent that I don't think the Batman we saw is necessarily the Batman we should have seen. I think they were trying to bring him over to the 21st century even more by making him, these bad guys just aren't going to flip with I don't know, just a simple gun that isn't going to actually kill them.
Well, let's look at if you're talking about Bruce Wayne and Batman actor that plays them, if you look at the previous Batmans, I mean, I don't think we can really include like sort of Adam West or any of this, but sort of like Kevin Conroy and what's the other one, Batman 1980? Kevin Conroy and...
Well, to be honest, he's been mostly being compared to Christian Bale, and that's a different Batman.
The thing is, like, I don't really want to compare him to the sort of Christian Bale. I think what Christian Bale did, like, Christian Bale was a fine Bruce Wayne, I think, but he wasn't a good Batman.
Yeah.
And Ben Affleck sees some competence in them both. It was the same with him. I can't remember his name. Small curly hair. Was it Kevin?
Oh, I know what you mean. It's not Kevin Bacon.
It's
That's
not,
what you're
not
about
Kevin
to say.
Bacon. I keep going back to Kevin Conroy, who's the voice of.
But anyways.
But no, he was a very good Batman, but I don't think he was a very good Bruce Wayne. I don't think he was confident enough. He was sort of a recluse. Whereas I love how brazen and just completely unadulterated how he just goes into that party with Lex and Superman, sort of shakes this reporter's hand, doesn't really give him the time of day to begin with because he's Bruce Wayne. And then as soon as he starts asking these reporter-style questions, slaps him down by saying, we don't take kindly to sort of people. Like, that's a great line. It was in the trailer as well, but it was a great line. It definitely sort of shows how I think Bruce Wayne should be. be
No,
cocky.
he was a good Bruce Wayne. I just think there's a lot of wrong with trying to get Batman to now start killing people. And don't tell me they were asleep. They were not asleep.
It was just a bit strange. But what about the Superman side of things anyway? Because I think a lot of people also say that this Superman is sort of the definitive screen Superman.
I really like the actor who plays him. I think he portrays a good Superman. But one of the things that I would definitely say I didn't like about the film was that it's just Superman himself was, I think, portrayed very well, because he does go back to his parents a lot in the comics because they are his connection to Earth in the first place. I don't agree with his overly strong, in my opinion, connection to Lois Lane. Lois Lane, is that how you say it?
Lois Lane.
Lewis, apparently it's Lewis now.
It's definitely a new direction for Superman to go down.
But no, I just don't. She has an important role, and she always has had an important role in the comics. But I think something that I didn't like at all was how personal it got. To the extent that in the comics, if you read Batman v Superman, or if you see the two, of course, they don't like each other because they're both very strong characters. I wouldn't even say they hate each other, but they're just not even intimidated. They're just kind of appreciating each other's power, and that obviously causes some sort of rivalry.
Certainly in the Justice League, if you've ever watched any of the Justice League or read any of the Justice League, Batman has this tendency to sort of do what he wants to do and what he thinks is right, regardless of what the Justice League will do. Even to the point where, I can't remember what the comic's name is, but he had plans to kill everyone in the Justice League. And they're turned against him. And he's sort of debated if he should remain in the Justice League for having this contingency plan, but that's just Batman. Batman wants to have a contingency plan for everything.
So it's not surprising the two of them clash because, and this is where I think Snyder went wrong, very much in the comics, it's very much down to the fact that they have a political, philosophical divide between them.
Yes.
Batman stands for something completely different than Superman does. Superman pretty much stands for the philosophical concept of justice, whereas Batman, I think, is very more, and political, I suppose, but Batman is much more logical, much more hands-on. Whereas in this particular film, Snyder said he wanted to make it for comic lovers, but he kind of just missed that point to the extent that it was a completely personal film. It was very much based you see Bruce's employee get smashed by like his legs being cut off by some sort of thing, and that is what puts him over the edge. I don't think that Batman would be that emotional for something like that. It just feels like it's a very personal experience. So when they go at each other because Superman's mother has been threatened. They go at each other because Batman decides to, take revenge for some odd reason. I don't think it's been really made all that clear.
The whole point of them both having the same mother and when she says, "Oh, Martha," Batman becomes flustered, whereas he already knows Batman's Bruce Wayne. And it's very, very common knowledge.
That's something I really,
Bruce Wayne's parents are. So it's not entirely like for Batman to be sort of like, "Oh, you know who my parents are," sort of thing. Well, it's not really unrealistic for that to work out. Superman knows who you are. So
it's just the main flaws I find with it as well is, if we're going along those lines of knowing things, I don't think Batman would have been stupid enough to not figure out that he's being played by Lex.
I think Batman at that point just wanted to kill Superman. This is Lex is a whole nother can of worms. Like, I quite enjoyed the new take on Lex. I think if you'd done the normal Lex Luthor, bald head, conniving
it would be too quickly to introduce an audience who's not been introduced in this new generation of DC films.
He's too boring.
Into Lex.
Like, Lex Luthor as a villain is very boring. I mean, he is a maniacal genius, but he is very boring just to introduce as like Superman's opposite. So they tried to make him young, inexperienced. He makes mistakes. He has a road to go down, a journey, which is fantastic, great. I think the main critique of it was that people felt that his ending scene where he pits Superman and Batman against each other, essentially just for his own kicks,
made no sense.
But there's been some...
You could argue Lex would do something like that very on purpose, because he's trying to figure out where his powers lie, but also he's trying to figure out where everyone else's powers lie. Because Lex has always had the idea of, I want as much power and control as I can get. And how do you do that? In order to assess other people, you'll have to see what their powers are.
Well, there was a release
So
scene.
I understand that.
There's apparently half an hour of extra footage which fleshes out the film, and there is a scene where Lex is in a bath. He's sort of in kryptonite in the Krypton ship Goo, being tutored by a big alien demon. And it's clear that Lex has tried to absorb as much Kryptonian knowledge as possible from the ship. And that experience could very well have left him mad, a bit insane,
yes,
a bit crazy.
Because if you look at Superman, he's obviously a complete... Yes, he looks human, but he's not. And, his mind functions differently. Meaning that even though Lex is a genius, it doesn't mean that all the amount of knowledge that he can... or that he's subjected to wouldn't drive him insane. Especially... Not insane, but... You know what I mean? Like, just a bit crazy.
Which is why I think he's only slightly showing signs of being a bit crazy when he stops in his speech at sort of stuttering, and he's got too many ideas in his head and he can't really get them out, and that's sort of the start of it. Then when you see
he's
him
too immature at this point.
And when you see him on top of the building where he's sort of threatening, throwing these pictures at Superman, I think that's generally when after he's had the Kryptonian experience, he's been pushed over the edge, he has gone a bit crazy, and just after experiencing all that knowledge, he is not thinking straight and his plan isn't exactly 100%. But I think that's just something that's going to come out when the movie gets expanded with the second half hour.
But it's not the first time we've seen a genius that gone a little bit too insane by having too much knowledge being put into his brain.
And I think
so I don't think that is a valuable really critique.
I think also comparing it to Heath Ledger is a bit unfair, because the way that he was portrayed in the Batman films, and the way in which we now perceive that Joker because of his death has elevated that to a point where when you say that, automatically Heath Ledger is better, regardless of what you say, because you have to say like,
I can see why people would see certain features and certain ways he acted similar, but then again, that's just because it's a DC film and people will make their connection. I think it's not a well-deserved connection to be made, but yeah.
There's also the Doomsday element of the film as well, which I think it wasn't necessary at all. I
think it took away from the weight of the fight. As I said, I don't agree with the fact that there was a personal... to me, it felt like there was a personal interest between the two of them fighting each other rather than a higher interest, such as political, philosophical interest, which is very, very strong in the comics. But that being put aside, throwing Doomsday into the mix... to me felt like too early, because yes, it was necessary for Wonder Woman to come in and to introduce that whole necessary
this was another thing
injunction of this Justice League.
The introduction of the side characters was done just very poorly.
Yes, like I would agree. Yeah,
Wonder Woman was kind of shoehorned in as we are wanting to do this kind of thing. Then you had a brief video with all like Flash, Aquaman. Cyborg's one generally was quite cool.
Cyborg's was quite cool, yeah. But it was unnecessary because you saw Wonder Woman or Diana walking around all these museums and things and that, which took completely away from the surprise moment when she appeared. We all know she would, but being subjected to her picture from the 1913 or whatever it was 3 times during the film, again, didn't make it in any way interesting anymore. It just felt repetitive.
Yes. I think also just that you could have had this entire film illuminate the Doomsday element, and you could have had Superman versus Batman, where Batman actually teams up with Lex to develop kryptonite weapons. And then you have Batman realizing that this isn't the correct path to go down, and having a Superman Batman that way. There's no need. The only reason to have Doomsday in there is to, one, get the whole Doomsday arc with Superman dying, which is another
way too quickly.
Yeah.
If you ask me, I like the film. There's plenty wrong with it, but I like it. I just don't think it's a Batman v Superman.
It went away from its original sort of point to kind of be like, aha, Doomsday, surprise, and we're all like, but we all know what Doomsday's going to mean. Superman's going to die, in inverted commas, but we all know he's not going to die. And as well as that, you've used Superman dying so early. Like, if you pull that stuff again, people are just going to be like, really, again? Mm-hmm. Superman dying?
I just don't think the weight should have been focused on just 2 giants collide. And to me, that was what it was, well built up to a certain extent, and then it was way too quickly over. That's something also I didn't like, the fact that, you know, Superman knows his mother is being held captive. He goes and sees Batman. He doesn't tell him. That's something that really annoyed me. Like, they stand in front of each other and Superman doesn't go, right, Bat, my mum's being held captive, kind of don't want to fight you, but I have to if otherwise Lex kills her. If you said that right away, the whole fight would have been pointless.
Yeah, it's because
there was not enough weight.
You needed an incentive for Batman to fight Superman. But if you'd gone down the whole Lex producing kryptonite weapons and Batman going after Superman, then Superman has to fight him out of self-defense.
That's what I'm saying. So there was not enough weight. There was not enough actual consequences being at stake. Because, again, Superman has super hearing. He can fly. He has X-ray vision. He could have found Martha within 30 minutes if she was in Metropolis, which she was, by the way.
Yeah.
So it's just not enough weight.
But going back to the point about Superman's death. Oh god, I've completely forgotten the point I was going to make now.
Unnecessary. Too early.
Not unnecessary, too early. I can't remember what I was going to say now.
I think you were going down the route where you said to me before when we just had this discussion in private, that Superman wasn't built enough up to be the hero. He wasn't loved enough to be able to be killed
this
off.
This whole aspect, yeah, which I never... Because when Superman dies beating Doomsday in the comics, he is
at the world's
adored.
Positive kind of hero and god.
Whereas in this, Zack Snyder's version, he is hated. I mean, the public reaction to him dying to Doomsday would be, well, good. We've eliminated one Krypton threat and another Krypton threat at the same time.
I think what he banked on was the audience knowledge of the fact that in between he would have been, you know, accepted again. Whereas if you had no knowledge at all of the DC comics and you went in there, it ended with him flying out of the Congress or whatever it is, being blown up.
Oh no, you're thinking the bomb scene.
Yeah, so that's the last thing the public has seen, and then all of a sudden he appears with Batman and Doomsday, wrecking the city again by the way.
Yeah.
So it makes no sense other than people who've actually read the comics know that there is appreciation in between, but for Snyder's timeline there was no time.
This might be another thing as well that Snyder's done wrong. That for example, there were a few scenes where so me and Anna were also trying to find out in the cinema who the person in his vision was, who appeared in the red and gold, saying what we couldn't even hear what he was saying. Find Martha or something, or Lois.
One of these fantastic drug scenes that Batman came on.
That's the Flash, and he's like, "Oh, I'm too early." Whereas when I saw it, I saw there was a lot of gold in his costumes. I thought time travel gold. It might have been Booster Gold, and I like to think that
it's very far stretched.
Yes, but it's the fact that I couldn't instantly recognize that was Flash. So how are normal, even with the sort of Mad Max scene where where Batman has this incredibly strange scene where he's fighting against Superman in a post-apocalyptic world, which, by the way, is a Darkseid reference, because the flying things that when I was in the cinema, I'm like, what earth are those? They're Darkseid's minions, and I knew that, like, but I didn't. My head just didn't go there. Then there's
it's because he jumps too quickly between the things to make.
Then there was Omega symbols as well everywhere, which is indicative of Darkseid, and like everything pointed to Darkseid, but I was just so pulled out of the moment with that very strange cutscene, and also Superman working for Darkseid. Like, it's happened a couple of times.
No, he wasn't working for Darkseid. Batman killed Lois Lane, and that's why Superman just.
No, but he was with the minions. Like, they all attacked at the same time, and they brought him in, and then Superman questioned him.
Yeah, suppose he could.
So it's just a very strange sort of place to be. Like, even though I have knowledge of these things, my brain just immediately didn't go there because it was so taken out of it by these almost drug-induced, as you said, scenes, which Snyder...
That's what it felt like.
Well, Snyder can do well with these. Sucker Punch sort of relied on the fact that there was this blur between fact and fiction and what Baby Doll was going through. But it worked well in Sucker Punch because of the state Baby Doll was in and because of the movie in general. I think that's why he
was trying to imitate the fact that Batman was going still, for some reason, through 20 years later, going through his whole kind of missing his family and dealing with the loss of the family, etc.
Yeah, I do like the haha jokes on you on the what we can only assume is the Jason Todd Robin suit.
Yeah.
Because that's the only suit.
That was a bat suit, though.
Was it a bat suit?
Yeah.
You see, because there's been heavy hints that that's Jason Todd's suit,
All right. Okay.
which would make sense.
Yeah.
Given why would he have a random bat suit hanging up in his
Probably an old.
He does, like,
One.
in many Batman comics, he obviously has lots and lots of suits hanging
Yeah.
up. But he used to hang Jason's suit up specifically in front of the bat suit to remind him
That you've failed.
that he failed.
Mhm.
And like, I would love if they decided to bring Red Hood into this, because
They
Red
wouldn't
Hood's
be able to. They're not ready.
Red Hood's one of my favorite comic book characters. But yeah.
Apart from that, the last thing I really wanted to say was something I also disagree with. A lot of people say it's too dark. There's no humor. Kevin Smith said it's, excuse my language, humorous as F. Yes, but I don't see a problem with that. I think what people are referring to is Marvel, and Marvel have taken it too far because everything Iron Man says has to be a joke. There has to be laughs within the Avengers. There has to be laughs within this. And okay, Marvel sells itself on that aspect. But I don't think the film was necessarily just depressing and unnecessarily dark.
No, I think issues were tried to be discussed, however badly or incorrectly Snyder did that. He tried to portray these issues of, well, do we need Superman? Is his power okay to just be completely unchecked and we rely on... It's the same thing with
There's
Batman
no
having...
space for jokes. I don't understand why people expected to burst out laughing. And then some people actually did say, oh, the joke factor should have been in Lex, but Lex's jokes were just cringeworthy. And I'm like, they were not jokes. They were the rambling of a madman.
Yeah, Lex wasn't trying to
be funny.
To be fair, there's one of my favourite scenes from the film actually is where Lex first takes the General into his compound and they're playing basketball. And he takes him to the side. He says, let's go to my office. Steps to the side of the court and says, oh, I want this. And he's like, oh, no. First of all, he says, have a sweet. And the General's like, I don't like them. And he's like, okay, I want this. He's like, okay, Grant. And he's like, and then I want this. And the General's like, well, that's a bit. And he unwraps the sweet and forces it into his mouth and says, it's cherry. And that whole psychological point of him forcing the General to have a sweet shows that, like, Lex is in control.
Yeah. And
there's another point later on where he loses control with the senator in his house.
Finch, yeah.
And then he starts to see that he's fully not in control of these situations. He can't manipulate anyone. That's when he starts going down the evil path. I thought that whole point was very subtle but very well done.
Yeah.
I did quite enjoy that. And he always refers back to this painting, which apparently, because of the demons, are a reference to Darkseid. Yeah.
So I just don't think there's no need for humor.
That's fair enough. Like, overall, I don't think the film was meant to be humorous. There's some very dark moments, like Martha Wayne's sort of CGI bat thing. Again, adding to Zack Snyder's list of
he just
very
likes to do that. I don't agree with his directorial or editing choices there, but oh well, I can deal with them.
Yeah. But overall, I think we both felt that the movie was good on some points, bad on others.
Yeah. It doesn't deserve to be as destroyed,
slated as it has been.
I think a lot of people just go in and they feel like they have to say it's bad.
I feel that, like, a lot of movie critics nowadays are overly critical of films, not because necessarily they're good or bad, or just because, I don't know, like, writing something very critical just seems to get more controversy around it. Saying something's good all the time is just boring.
Yeah.
So you've got to nitpick and see. Like, don't get me wrong, there are things wrong with this film.
Oh yeah, there's plenty wrong with this film.
I would definitely say it's a solid 5 out of 10.
There's plenty wrong with the film, but it's not as atrocious as people
are making it out to be. Yeah, definitely, I would agree with that. Anything else you want to add before?
No. If you guys disagree with us, then feel free to
come to Forbidden Planet and hash it out with us. We'll probably give you some good ideas of what Batman or Superman comics you could buy to further flesh out your knowledge.
It's very true.
And Suicide Squad's out soon as well, which we'll probably might do another one of these for that. I'm very looking forward to Suicide Squad because the best thing about Batman is the villains rather than Batman at all.
I don't like Batman. I like the villains.
Don't
like Batman is a bit strong.
I like Batman, but I'm not going to argue that the villains do make Batman comics very good.
Yes.
But okay. But thanks very much for listening, guys.
Thank you much indeed.
Might do more of these if they get traction, but go see Batman v Superman. It is worth it is worth a peek. If you don't like it, fair enough. If you do like it and you want further reading, and what would you read for Batman v Superman?
We just said come in.
Well, you can come in, but like just off the top of your head, what's a couple of comics we?
Not the New 52.
Not the New 52.
New 52 run is
awful. There's
a lot of things in the actual Justice League.
And there is a comic with a bat suit in it that I come in and I'll have it set aside because I know exactly the one I'm meaning, where Batman he makes the bat suit and it's exactly the same, and I assume I think it's actually a Frank Miller comic.
Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns.
Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns.
Yes.
There you go. Thank you.
What a welcome.
The Superman person correcting the Batman one on comics. Okay. Well, thanks very much, guys, and we'll catch you next time.
Bye bye.